Tonight, with the stroke of a pen, President Trump starting the process of dismantling the U.S. Department of Education. Good evening, I'm Chris Harapsky. The agency created by Congress can only be fully shut down by Congress. But right now, schools across our country and here in Minnesota are preparing for the changes. Joe McCoy has a look at what leaders are saying tonight. Joe.
Chris, K through 12 schools receive roughly 90% of their funding from state and local governments, and states also set the curriculum. The remaining 10% funded by the Department of Education helps with critical services such as special education.
From the East Room of the White House, President Trump signing an executive order on another campaign promise, dismantling the Department of Education.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs.
The president says Title I funding for low-income students, resources for students with special needs, and Pell Grants will be fully preserved, but redistributed to various other agencies.
And in the state of Minnesota, the Department of Education provides about $530 million to our E-12 schools throughout our state.
Education Minnesota President Denise Speck says the Department of Education hopes ensure students don't fall through the cracks.
I don't believe that the state of Minnesota can afford to fill the holes that would be there if we were not going to get this funding from the feds.
Edina Public Schools Superintendent Stacy Stanley said in an email to families that the district receives more than $2.4 million a year in federal funding. She says it's unclear how these funds will be administered without the Department of Education.
It might not be that the funding doesn't completely go away, but it might be coming back in the form of block grants with strings attached.
Actually eliminating the department would require congressional approval. It requires 60 votes to pass in the Senate, and there are only 53 Republicans.
The Department of Education staff was nearly cut in half last week, with roughly 1,300 employees laid off. The Trump administration says this was done to greatly reduce the size and scale of the department.
There's a lot of confusion about what President Trump's executive action will and won't do, so let's verify. It'll make the Department of Education smaller, something the president has said he wants to do. It will also direct Secretary Linda McMahon to, quote, take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Department of Education, end quote. Here's what the action won't do. According to President Trump, it won't get rid of federal Pell Grants. It won't get rid of funding for Title I or children with disabilities. This also won't impact curriculum, as the Department of Education doesn't have any say in those requirements. What we don't know yet, how this will impact student loans, because the Department of Education oversees the $1.6 trillion federal student loan portfolio.